C'est l'heure de parler un peu de grammaire française. Hello everybody. I'm filming with my phone, so that means there won't be any editing, hence the little improvised sung intro. Today I'd like to have a we'll see how quick I can make it, an overview of French verb forms. What I would like to do is compare and contrast the different French tenses with English tenses. I'm going to focus on the ones that are handy for Key Stage 3, and then I'll move on to Key Stage 4, and I'll probably stop there because that will probably take a while. And I'm only going to look at one example verb, and that will be jouer, to play, because it's very regular, it doesn't do anything weird, and also it's a pretty useful verb. And while I'm speaking, you'll see the horse. Because there won't be any editing, there won't be any text appearing, so I won't try and come in and do subtitles properly, but I do suggest you turn them on if they're available. If they're automatic, it might not be very good, but if I've taken the time to come back and put subtitles, there'll be a mix of English and French. So that should be it. That's for the intro. So, Key Stage 3, the first likely tense you're going to meet in French will be your indicative present tense. So that would be je joue. Je joue, which is, formally speaking, the equivalent of the English I play. I'm saying formally speaking because although it is the same construction as I play, we also use je joue in French to say I am playing. And we will also sometimes use it to say I have been playing. So it depends on context. For example, I could say je joue souvent aux cartes. I often play cards. So that's a simple present tense in English because it's a habit I have in the present tense. It's still happening. I could also say je ne joue pas au foot là maintenant. I am not playing football right now. So we would use the same verb in French, je joue, and then put it in the negative to say right now I'm not doing it. So in English you switch from I play to I am playing, but in French it's the same form. And lastly, you can also say in French, je joue au foot depuis 4 ans. Which would be I have been playing football for 4 years. So in this case, in English, you can't say I play football for 4 years or I play football since 4 years ago. That doesn't work. You have to say I have been playing. And in French, it's still going to be je joue. So this is the first tense you're likely to cope with or to be confronted with in year 7. In year 8, you're probably going to start looking at what we call the passé composé in French, which is the perfect tense. It looks like the English present perfect. So you have in French, j'ai joué, I acute, and in English that basically would be I have played. However, the trick comes in the fact that we use j'ai joué in French in order to say I played simple past in English. For example, hier, j'ai joué au foot. Yesterday, I played football. So you rarely use the French perfect tense to translate an English present perfect, I have played. You will then probably meet another indicative tense, which will be the near future. The near future will be je vais jouer, ER, and that will be the equivalent of I am going to play. This one is very straightforward. It's used the same way in English and in French. So, je vais bientôt jouer au foot. I am soon going to play football. You could meet another future tense, probably when you get to year 9, depending on your schools, but in ours we tend to introduce that in year 9, and it's the simple future. So, je vais jouer was the near future, I am going to play, and then je jouerai is your simple future, and that's the equivalent of I will play. Okay, simple future. Same use in English and in French, quite straightforward. In year 9, you will also probably start looking at another indicative past tense in more detail, and that will be the imperfect. So we've seen before the perfect tense, j'ai joué for I played. So as the context or example sentence might have shown you, you say yesterday I played. So you use the perfect tense in French for actions in the past. They tend to have a clear beginning and a clear end. They're finite. The imperfect tends to be used for descriptions in the past, habits in the past, or events in the past that don't have a clear time frame, a clear beginning and a clear end. So you would say je jouais, A-I-S, and that could be I used to play, it could be I was playing, and it could be I played. It depends on context. So for example, quand j'étais petite, je jouais aux cartes. When I was little, I used to play cards. So here, je jouais aux cartes is a habit I used to have in the past. Now I don't anymore. You could also say, if you're saying a story, je jouais au foot quand il s'est mis à pleuvoir. I was playing football when it started to rain. So here, your jouer au foot is setting the scene or giving a description of how the situation was when something else happened. We use the imperfect quite often in that case. And I've now suddenly forgotten the third element because I was thinking my horse is very beautiful. So, but these are the main two anyway for the imperfect. It'll be description in the past or past habits. Oh, and the last one was if there's no clear end and beginning. So I can't think of an example with that off the top of my head. So that will take you through your year 7, 8 and 9. Je joue, I play, or I am playing, or I have been playing. J'ai joué, I played. Je jouais, AIS, I used to play or I was playing. Je vais jouer, I am going to play. Je jouerai, I will play. If you then move into key stage 4, you are going to start adding some conditional mood as opposed to indicative. So everything we've seen so far was indicative, which is in the real world, it's happening, it's actual life. And then conditional mood is when you have to have a condition for something to happen. So in English it would be I would. So in French we'll have je jouerais, A-I-S, which is I would play. For example, s'il ne pleuvait pas, je jouerais au foot plus souvent. If it wasn't raining, I would play football more often. So that's the conditional present tense. I would do something. You will also start looking at the pluperfect. The pluperfect is the past in the past. So you have the perfect tense, which is for past actions compared to now. The pluperfect is past actions compared to a past action. So in English that would be I had done something. And in French, if you want to say I had played, you would say j'avais joué instead of j'ai joué. That's the pluperfect. So if you're reading I used the wrong tense. If you read a lot of books, you might have noticed some of them have the narration in the present tense and some of them have this narration in the past tense. If your book story is told in the present tense and a character wants to say a bit of a flashback, they'll use the perfect tense in French. They'll use the normal past tense, so to speak, the simple past. So if you have a story in the present and it's saying, this morning I wake up and my legs are still really sore because yesterday I played football. Ce matin je me suis réveillée. That's the wrong tense. I'm so used to doing stories in the past. Ce matin je me réveille et mes jambes me font mal parce que j'ai joué au foot hier. So that's a present tense story and simple past flashback, so to speak. So in French, the flashback was in the perfect tense. However, if your story was narrated in the past tense, then your flashback would have to be in the pluperfect. So this morning I woke up, or that morning rather, I woke up and my legs were sore because I had played football the day before. And in French, that would be ce matin-là, je me suis réveillée et j'avais mal aux jambes parce que j'avais joué au foot la veille. So that's when you use the pluperfect. J'avais joué. So with the perfect tense, your reference point is the present, and with the pluperfect, your reference point is the past. Conditional present we've seen. When you get to the end of year 10, maybe year 11, you might also look at the conditional past tense. So we've seen the conditional present was I would play. Conditional past is I would have played. If it hadn't been raining, I would have played football. S'il n'avait pas plu, j'aurais joué au foot. And j'aurais joué, this time aurait is AIS. So conditional past is for something that would have happened if something else had happened. And notice here we use the pluperfect if something else had happened, but it didn't happen. So that's when you use the conditional past tense. The last one that you might have some glimpses of in Key Stage 4 will be subjunctive, but that will probably be in set phrases your teachers will give you, because subjunctive is a little bit trickier to explain, but it's very often used in French. The good news is lots of verbs in the subjunctive tense basically look like a present tense. The bad news is the ones we use the most often are exceptions, obviously. And that's it for our verb overview. So if I try and recap from the start, we've got je joue, I play, or I am playing, or I have been playing. J'ai joué, I played. Je vais jouer, I am going to play. Je jouerai, I will play. Je jouais, I used to play. Je jouerais, I would play. J'avais joué, I had played. J'aurais joué, I would have played. And then the subjunctive would be que je joue, which is the same as the present tense, that I play. And I think that's it for jouer in all the various tenses that would be handy in Key Stage 4. I hope this was useful, I hope it will come online, and I hope I'll find the time to come and put subtitles on so that it can be more useful. And I'm going to leave you there and focus on the dragon and his little walk/graze to see if he's lame, because when I turned up today he had a swollen area with a little puncture wound on his back leg. You can't see it from here. So we gave that a good clean, put some cream on it, and now I want to see if he's uncomfortable. I don't think he is. Look at him, he's gorgeous. Yeah, you are. So that's it for us. Give us a like if you like this video, give us any comments below if you have constructive criticism to give me or questions you would like me to cover, and subscribe if you haven't already subscribed, share if you know people this might help, and I shall see you in another video. Bye!